Check, check, check. Oh my goodness, things are working again. Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Claire. We are back here for season 3 of 343 TV. Goodness, that's a lot of 3 numbers in a row, but I'm just gonna pop over to the YouTube chat and say hi to everyone. Hope you're all doing great. I'm really excited for season 3, so welcome if you're joining us for the first time. 343 Labs is a school based in New York and Berlin and the greater online realm of things. I'm Claire and I'm one of the instructors over there. We are an Ableton Certified Training Center, which means that we have Ableton Certified Trainers, and I'm one of them. So thank you all for joining us. I know we have a couple of returning folks who have tuned in to previous seasons of 343 TV. So 343 TV is our daily live streaming programming that we host as our school is now largely online. But yeah, so I teach a lot of the things related to Ableton Live on this channel. If you want to keep up with the rest of our postings and the rest of our videos, which I'll speak about in a moment, you can like and subscribe and make sure that you turn on the notification bell so you can be updated for whenever we go live and have new videos and stuff. But I don't know how many people saw this. We recently put out a video of me talking a little bit about some favorite features in Ableton Live 11, which is coming out later this year, so very excited for that. And I think I'm wearing the same shirt now that I think about it. I think, yeah, was I wearing my green shirt? Yeah, I think so. This is one of my favorite shirts. It's my, I'm a part of a group called Female Pressure that's like a, kind of like a coalition of women in music. So this is my shirt from them. My hair always covers the logo, but it's there. Female Pressure, yeah! It's one of my favorite shirts, also because I just like the color. But great to see everyone. I'm going to pop over into the chat. I've missed this a little. Yeah, Enigmatic Onion, hello! Missed you too! Oh, caught up on all the previous episodes. Oh my goodness, wow, that's amazing. Hi to Andrew, hi to John. Always the first few in the chat. Steph, hey, how's it going? Sebastian, hey. iTubeU, hello. Debakar, hello. Rio, hey, how's it going? Todd, Nefertiti, great to see you again. Great to see everyone. Thank you all for being here. So, we're going to keep moving forward with 343 TV stuff. Welcome back. Oh, shout out to Thomas also, who's behind the 343 Labs name as always, holding it down for all of us. If you guessed from the title of today's stream, I'm going to talk a little bit about vocal processing in live, because something that came up in quite a few streams last season in 2020, as well as just random comments here and there, was like vocal processing. How do you do it? And maybe even taking a step back, like how do you get started recording stuff? That itself is maybe something that I think has been covered on quite a few streams before, not necessarily on tips and tricks, but I think on Hybrid Home Studio, Justin has talked a bunch about that. Justin's an amazing instructor at 343 Labs as well. He does a lot of the Logic and Live stuff too, and he hosts one of the other 343 TV shows too. So what I'm going to do today is do a little bit of vocal recording. It's going to be very quick, and because of that, we may have, you know, a little bit of a rough vocal take, but we'll see how much we can massage it and make it decent or anything. So over here, let's get started in live. I've got live pulled up over here. We are in arrangement view today, not so much in session view. And that's also because in arrangement view, we might do a little bit of maybe comping, which if you saw the latest Live 11 video that we put out, I talk a little bit about it there. If you are excited for comping in Live 11, let us know in the chat, because I'm really excited for it. But it's kind of a strange thing to be excited about, right? Because comping has existed in other DAWs for eons. Like Logic and Pro Tools have some really great fluid workflows for comping. But finally, we got it in Live, alas. Maybe this is the thing that really pushes me to make Live my one and only DAW, because right now I'm still going between all of these different things. I love recording vocals in Pro Tools and Logic, to be very frank. So sometimes I go between all of these different workstations and different options, but very excited for some comping stuff that we might get to do in Live. But before I even start recording vocals, let me just walk you very quickly through what I've got over here. So kind of going back to the usual stuff that I did in my setup for last season and also the season before, we can always ignore the monitor track. That's just for you to hear me speaking. If I turn that off, you can't hear me speak, for example. So that's in live, that's the monitor track. I've got some chords here though. It's like an 8-bar chord progression that I took from one of my songs called Rewind. I usually do it as a live performance in a lot of my shows. At this stage, there's also a studio version in the works. I'm very excited for that. It'll probably come out later this year. But let's just take a listen to the chord progression and then I'll move on to the next track after that. But great, we got monitoring, we got some chords. Let's take a listen. And I also turn on the metronome in live so we get a little bit of a tempo reference. Here we go. Cool. So that's it. A little bit of a fancy minor 7 flat 5 thing in the second 4 bars. But that was like the main chord progression for my song Rewind. My goodness. So I'll sing over it a little bit. And the way that I'm going to do that is using the vocal track over here. I have a track that's called Vocals. And this is something that I'm going to record my vocals into. We may do a couple of takes so that we can comp a little bit as well. So yeah, that's what the vocals are going to go into. You'll notice though that I, at the moment, have monitoring turned off. And that's actually because I'm monitoring through my other track, right? So, but if you're ever recording vocals, if you want to hear yourself, you probably set this to auto. Let me also just make sure that you can see my mouse moving. Yes, you can. Okay, great. Sometimes I forget which screen I've shared, but no, I'm sharing the right thing, sharing my display. So if you wanted to hear yourself from within your DAW, you'd probably click on this button that says auto, but right now I'm monitoring through a separate track, so I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do though is maybe start recording immediately, but also just saw a couple of extra questions. Stop! Are those purple ATHs? Yes, they are! Yeah! Thanks for asking. As most people know now, one of my favorite colors is purple. Truth be told, the only reason I got this, or 2 reasons. The 2 main reasons I got this was, first of all, I am currently servicing my other pair of ATHs. There's a little bit of an issue with one of the sites, so I had to send it in for servicing. So that's not there. But also, this is a secondhand pair that I bought. So that's the only reason why I have it. So this is like, again, like for a lot of people know that I'm a big fan of secondhand things. So it was like I think it was a demo item in store or something. So I got it for cheaper. So yes, these are purple, one of my favorite colors. Very happy about that. Probably made my start of the year. But I'm a little sad with my other ATHs because those were also very nice, and now I can't use them until they come back. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully something good comes out of it. But great, yes. We had another thing. Oh yes, thank you, Thomas. We are giving away a 3-month subscription to Splice. So go ahead and enter the giveaway, everyone. We want you to win. We always want you to win. So make sure that you enter the giveaway. Thomas has it in the YouTube chat at least. So hi, Roller8. Hi, greetings again. Oh, I think using auto and listening through the DAW might introduce latency. At least it does in my setup. You're right, it absolutely does. So that's something to keep in mind too. To be honest, I like using auto and in if I need to monitor from within live, but most of the time, if I think about it, I do set it to off, and oftentimes I just monitor with one ear off. So like I can listen to the track and then I can also listen to myself. I much prefer that. Maybe it also kind of stems from an old school like Pro Tools-y recording thing that I used to do when I did a lot of vocals in Pro Tools. So, but it really depends on your setup. If you have a strong computer, mine's okay. If you have a really strong computer with good specs, you will have pretty much negligible latency coming through in auto and in. So that's a good consideration to keep in mind. So for now, I'll keep this off so that it'll line up in time over here. And my monitoring, I'm going to be doing through my other track that I usually speak through anyway. So that's definitely an interesting consideration. Let's listen to this one more time, and I'm going to set up a couple of things to help me with my loop recording stuff, and we'll try to get this done. And like I mentioned, I'll be doing some loop recording. So what I want to do is I think I want to start from here with my recording. Okay, cool. The thing about the phrase that I'm recording though is that it starts on an offbeat. So it starts on the upbeat. and anacrusis, if you want to be very specific about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a copy of the this right before. I'm going to copy this chord, put it right before, and I'm going to put also this right after. And this way I get a little bit of a reference for the key. I don't have perfect pitch. I have relative pitch, but I don't have perfect pitch, so I need some kind of reference. And then I'm going to adjust my loop brace over here and activate the loop, so that this way when I start recording into my Vox track, I'm going to probably record a couple of takes. And if I right click on my vocal track or control click, I can choose the option to show take lanes. So now when I start recording, the different takes are going to show up in stacked lanes. This is a new feature in Live 11. So if you don't have Live 11, you can't do it. But if you do, you can do it, which is great. And I have it. So let's do it. Let's go ahead and start recording. Let's see what we get. We won't know until we try, and I'm not sure how this will go. So maybe let's do like 2 or 3 takes of the vocal, and we'll see how things go. So here we go. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Take 2. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Take 3. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. And that's do it. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, great, cool. There's our takes. I can also kind of delete all of this last one over here. Not all of them. Goodness, why did I say all of them? Not all of them. But I can delete this last one because I did, I went over a little bit and I only wanted to do 3 takes anyway. It did create its own take lane, so I'm going to go ahead and right-click and delete it. This is something that I talk about with a lot of students as well, but I think it's really important to kind of clean up after yourself. Someone, I think, once mentioned to me that the sign of like a professional chef is that they always clean up after themselves when they're making stuff. And I think in a way that's kind of the mark of not a professional musician, but like an effective one, I think, or an effective engineer. Maybe this is more of the engineering side. So kind of cleaning up with all of these different things. Let's go ahead and do a quick comp of this. So what I'm going to do is listen to each of these different takes, and I might pick out my favorite sections. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm also going to turn on my pencil in draw mode. So draw mode is a really neat feature in Live that lets you use a little pencil icon and select specific things that you want to comp from different takes. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to activate draw mode. I'm also going to turn off my MIDI computer keyboard because I have a couple of key mappings that I don't want to have them overlap. So let's listen to each of these takes. I do remember roughly, though, which ones were the better parts. So if my memory doesn't fail us, we can do this pretty quickly. So let's go for it. Let's listen to 1, 2, and 3. So we've got take 1, take 2, take 3. Here's take 1, I think. Yes. Let's also bring this up a little. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Take 3. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool, I think that's pretty much it. Is it great? So I used the pencil and I started like highlighting a bunch of things. You'll notice that I think I wanted that from the first take. Let's listen one more time. Wish I could let you go this time. Yeah, that's fine. So now I have a comp of that, and it's in the first track over here, which is great. So this is kind of going to be my overarching track that I use to do these vocal parts for. Great. So now that I'm not using any of the take lanes, let's go ahead and hide those. So Don't show take lanes, hide them. What I want to do instead, though, is a little bit of cleanup over here for the vocals. So this is something that I often do almost immediately after I work on an edit or a comp. I try to make sure that everything is cleaned up in a way. So if I solo this, let's go ahead and take a listen. And I'm also going to unarm it because I'm no longer using it. So let's take a listen. Is it real? Is it in my mind? So I just want to make sure that the overlaps and the differences are happening in appropriate places where I can then fade them. You'll also notice that in my case, I don't actually have fades automatically set up. That's an adjustment that you can make from your own settings in Live. And maybe this is a part of my, not control freak, but I always like double checking anyway about fades and such. So great, we now have a pretty nice vocal take going, I think. Or a pretty decent one. At least it's approximately in tune, which is good. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Let's just solo it. Is it real? Is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool. For Monday morning, it's not so bad. So that's good. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of tuning, though. I mean, we have this discussion kind of a bunch about tuning and when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate. I love tuning, and I think like it's, I don't know, I don't really see it as a crutch necessarily, but I love how it's a really great tool to make your mixes sound a lot tighter as far as vocals go, especially if you're doing anything related to like vocoders, which if you know me, you'll know I love so much. And I think tuning is really crucial whenever you're doing any kind of vocoder or harmonization type things, because it's based off some kind of input vocal. So let's go ahead and do some tuning. I'm excited for this. I've never, no, I have before. I do like some workshops occasionally about like tuning, and we get super in depth. But let's just do something very quickly with Melodyne. This was requested as well quite a lot from last season, so I'm glad that we can bring it this time. Let's go ahead and drag and drop this onto my vocal track. I don't have any effects on it at the moment, so this will be the first. But check this out. Yay, we've got Melodyne over here. So maybe let's spend a minute, not a minute, but a few moments also to kind of talk a little bit about what Melodyne is. So Melodyne is a plugin made by the company Solemnity that's really good for pitch correction. Not in a live sense, but I find it most useful in like a studio sort of sense. It can take a while to get used to using it, but it almost functions a little bit like, how should I describe this? Well, we'll see how it works actually. That's a good place to start. I'm also going to go ahead and move this. But the way Melodyne often works is you have to have some kind of audio signal coming in that you want to tune. So in my case, it's going to be vocals. I will say that I've used Melodyne on a ton of things. I like using it a lot on guitars as well. If you've ever had a guitarist who maybe was very enthusiastic maybe in playing a guitar solo, but sometimes their tuning went a little bit off, you can use Melodyne to help you with that. You can also use Melodyne for creating harmonies, which I think is very fun. I like doing that a lot as well. But in this case, we're just going to use it in a little bit more of a utilitarian kind of sense where we tune stuff. So let's go ahead and click on Transfer inside Melodyne. I'm just going to make sure also that you can see this. Yes, you can. Great. I'm always concerned about, maybe it's my Zoom syndrome. I'm always like, are people actually seeing this or not? But let's go ahead and click on the Transfer button. Now we see it's red. And now when I play this back, not going to record, just press play, we're going to get a transfer of whatever audio signal I have into the Melodyne plugin. And in the meantime, let's see if anyone able to guess what key this is in? I know what key it's in. If you have a perfect pitch, let us know. Maybe I'll give like a virtual cookie to whoever knows what key we're in. Here we go. Is it real? Is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Great. That's it. Okay, cool. So that's all of the stuff that we wanted to kind of bring in. And yeah, okay, it's actually not that bad. For a lot of tuning stuff that I do, what I enjoy doing a lot that takes often more time is listen to a take. And if something needs tuning, then I will tune it. But if it doesn't need tuning, then I won't tune it. So that often takes a little bit longer. So if you're ever in a rush though, there are a couple of things in the Melodyne plugin that you can kind of play around with a little bit. But just to demonstrate again a little bit of what we just did, we took some kind of imprint of the vocals and now we can see it showing up over here. So if I listen back, let's maybe even just take the first phrase, the "is it real" part, which is over here. Is it real? You can kind of see that we've got some of these notes showing up. And if I wanted to, I can even kind of change this a little bit. So what if I bring this one? Oh no, let's try this one. What if I bring this note all the way down? I can do that too. Is it real? Is it in my mind? So that's a little bit of like the harmony thing that I mentioned just now. You can play around with pitch quite a lot, which is pretty fun. I'm gonna undo that though, because I want to have a more realistic sort of tuning situation. Back to what I mentioned about fast tuning sorts of things. A really great feature of Melodyne, if you're ever working very quickly, is if you select all of these by clicking anywhere, press Command A or Control A, select all of these little things that have been recorded, you can use this feature over here to snap things to a key. And let's see, did anyone get the thing? Max, hi, how's it going? Yeah, it's in C minor. Max is our co-founder at 343 Labs, everyone. Say hi to Max. He's in Berlin. But yeah, it's in C minor. Also, yes, absolutely. Melodyne detected the pitch, actually. It's pretty good at doing this more often than not. I will also say, though, that the hook for the song, which I just sang, is very indicative of a C minor thing, so not super surprising. But great, C minor. What we can do is we can snap the pitch centers. So check this out. I'm kind of moving this fader right now, and the pitches that have been detected are moving to the nearest note. I can also move them to a C minor scale if I check this box that says snap to C minor. Now we see a couple of things have moved, but you'll hear when I play this back that some things now sound worse, which is something to keep in mind. So I'm just gonna click OK, and let's see what we think. I'm also gonna turn off the metronome so we have a clearer sense of this. Is it real? Is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Okay, cool. So some stuff sounds really great, which is cool. Other stuff, especially any kind of like melismatic stuff, sometimes Melodyne struggles with it a little bit, which in this case, you can see that it does. So it kind of did a little bit of a weird thing over here, for example. So what I'm going to do in this case is edit this a little bit more finely. The truth is that my original performance wasn't actually so bad. So if I were doing my long-winded method, I would have probably just skipped over that. But let's go ahead and split this up. You can do this in Melodyne using a couple of the tools that they have. So you can split up detection of something. Also this one over here, let's do that here. Boop, ding, boop. And now you can see them move around a little bit. Let's listen to this part. I think it was probably in the 4th bar. Putting you on. Yeah, over here. So what I want to do in this case is the same thing I did just now. A little bit of the tuning things. Putting you on. There we go. Putting you on rewind. A little better, but I do think the original is actually good, so it's okay. For the purpose of this stream, we'll keep it as that. And this one also, I think, should be there. Great. Let's bring this down. Should be here. So now let's take a listen again. Let's see how we're sounding. If things are decent enough, we'll move on. Is it real? Is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool, so putting you on rewind. I think that's E flat, F. Yes, that's great. So great. This one should also be G. But I think that's pretty much it. So the tuning happened pretty fast. I think we did that in, I forget the time, a couple of minutes, I think. But at this stage, let me pop over into the chat because I was looking at all of these things just now and then I think I got distracted a bit. So let's check out the chat. Hello, everyone. Thank you for all joining in. Let's see. Yeah, okay, cool. Max, yeah. Mr. Bucket, sup? Yes, hello. Samuel, hey, how's it going? Max, yeah, I have no perfect pitch. I think like when I was little, a lot of my friends did, and so I felt very sad. So instead, I started working a lot on relative pitch. So now I have that. I don't have perfect pitch. It's both good and bad. I think it's good because Like I'm not super bothered when things are out of tune in a way, and that helps because I used to study a lot of music that actually had microtones in it. So if you do have perfect pitch, that kind of stuff kind of drives you a little crazy. So a blessing in disguise. Roller, yeah, super excited for Live 11 as well. I'm really looking forward to Live 11. We have for those of you who just joined in, welcome. We do have a new video on our channel where we talk about Live 11, and you know it's me because I'm wearing the same shirt. So you can check that out. And Mr. Bucket, can you still Command Z an extra take? That's a great question. I do believe you can. And I think an extra take. Let's see. I think it depends on exactly how you're doing it. In session view, it should still work. In arrangement view, it might be worth trying out a little bit more. If we have like a dedicated session to recording audio, maybe we can try that out. Because usually what Command Z does is it undoes the last recorded take, but if you're doing a series of them, it might be a little different. So interesting, yeah, and that's also Control Z for our folks and friends who are on PCs instead. Command Z is the command on a Mac that you would use to undo something. Control Z is the equivalent on a PC. So yeah, let's see, what else do we have? Ria, what's the Ableton feature to make pitch correction like Autotune or Melodyne? There isn't a built-in one yet. And also Ableton is the company, Live is the software. If you're joining in again, you know my catchphrase. But yeah, there isn't a built-in one into Live. The closest I can think of, which is actually pretty cool, is something that's called Autotuna. And it is in the pitch and time, I think it's a Max 7 development, but it's a series of Max for Live devices, a suite of Max for Live devices, that lets you change pitch and time. One of them is called Autotuna. I love the name, and it lets you tune things in a little bit more of a fast correction way rather than a more natural sort of pitch adjustment. So I would say that one is a little bit more akin to say the T-Pain style of pitch correction, a little bit more aggressive, so very fast and very snappy to certain pitches. So Autotuna, that might be something to look up. And I will also just add that if you are using a Max for Live device, it's only something that you can do in Suite. So if you don't have Live Suite, if you have Live Standard or Intro or Live Lite even, you're not going to be able to use that. So yes, not yet. Maybe in a future version we'll have something built in, like Flex in Logic, for example. Let's see. Jose, hello. Oh, thank you so much. Let's see. Thank you. You love my classes. Learned a lot. I know there's a class every week. Yeah, so I do the Monday show every week. It's not so much a class, I guess, but I'm glad that you're learning a lot from it, Jose. This is a show. It's part of 343 TV, which is our daily streaming series. We have classes every day, streams every day here on our YouTube channel. If you want to be updated, you can always subscribe so that you can be in the know. But I host the Monday show every week. I think, and someone can fact check me on this. I think there is a playlist though for all of the tips and tricks shows on the on our YouTube channel. So you can do that, or you can also maybe just type into the search bar. I think if you type in tips and tricks, which is the name of this show, with the exclamation points, you should be able to find the streams that I've done in the past. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Usually the search bar is pretty good. Mr. Bucket, you could probably try and use a vocoder, but yeah, that's actually going to be a future topic. And I've also done another stream on that on my own, another video on that specifically on my YouTube channel. This is the 343 Labs YouTube channel. I also have my own channel under dolltr. So if you check that out, you'll be able to see my vocoder tutorial. And fun fact, that's always the tutorial that not tutorial, but kind of like the lesson plan that I love using with a lot of the kids that I teach, because everyone loves vocoders, right? Gotta use vocoders. So I am a big fan of vocoders. I am also doing a series at the moment for the month of January called January, where I do a little bit of music every day. It's been really helpful for me because I've been a little stressed out as of late. Not a little, actually quite stressed out, but to keep me sane, I've been doing a little bit of music every day and sharing that with folks. So if you want to see me use a vocoder for all 31 days of January, you can follow me on Instagram and you'll be able to see that. I'm also posting those on YouTube as well. So if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see that too. Lots of vocoder. Big fan of vocoder. Love vocoder stuff. let's see. Jose, yeah, I just answered your question. I think you typed it in twice. Rio, how to mixing and mastering vocals in live? Because you usually just compose in live. Yeah, we're gonna get right into that in a little bit. We start with tuning. That's the first thing in our processing chain, and then we keep moving forward. Max's perfect pitch. That's awesome. Regine, hi, great to see you again. Whitney is back. Hello. Sam, little bit pitchy. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone goes a little bit pitchy. So very, very secure about that. iTubeU, is there any similar plugin? Yeah, so I'll also answer that question as well. Arkijun, hello, greetings. SpaceFacts, yes, a pitch training app. I will say though that the younger you are, the easier it is for you to get perfect pitch. So it's pretty easy. And I think like also maybe if anyone else is in band or orchestra, maybe you can kind of sympathize with this, but I know what A sounds like. I know what the note A sounds like. If anyone knows what I mean by that, let me know in the chat and we'll commiserate a little bit about being orchestra or band nerds as well. Samuel, kind of a relative pitch, can't differentiate 6 and 7ths. Ah, okay, cool. So that means you don't have relative pitch, very bluntly. But it's okay, we can always work on things. It always takes a little while. So it's important to get very fluent in those. Stav, what version of Melodyne is this? There are multiple versions with various prices. Yes, that's correct. Let's take a look at this again. I think it shows up in the corner. Yes, it does. Unfortunately, it's very small. It's Melodyne Editor. I've found that this is, I think this is the mid-range one. I may be wrong. But I found that for my needs, I have found it to be sufficient. And I usually tend to, again, not use it super extensively. So for my purposes, it seems to work fine when I use it. So that's great. Let's go ahead and close this up. But that's a really great question. So yeah, something to keep in mind is if you do intend on getting Melodyne, I actually do recommend it. I've used also, what other things have I tried? Autotune, I've tried before. I find that it isn't super flexible. And usually when you put it on something, it tends to do the automatic correction rather than only when you need it. So for that reason, I love using Melodyne as well. Great. Okay, cool. So EFBF, hi. You're welcome for the info. Thank you for subscribing. That's great. And let's also take a second to close this up over here. Like I said, kind of cleaning up. Usually when I'm done with a specific device, I like to close that up. So yeah, Sam, 440 hertz tuning or 442 if you're playing in a different kind of orchestra that has a different tuning, but it's A tuning. Yeah. So yeah, actually, interestingly enough, the 440 versus 442 thing also throws a lot of perfect pitch people off. So that's something to, I guess, be thankful for. But great. Now that we've got the Melodyne stuff, I usually like to do tuning first. Now let's do a little bit of EQ. So how are we going to do this? We're going to head over into the audio effects category. And starting from Live 11, instead of having all of the plugins or devices rather, plugins are third party, right? Rather than having all of the devices listed in alphabetical order, they still are, but now they're categorized. So if I'm looking for an EQ, I've got this category over here that says EQ and filters. So let's go ahead and open up this folder by clicking on the little disclosure triangle, and let's look for EQ8. I'm gonna click and drag and drop it onto my vocals. And for a second, let's just observe. We can also listen for stuff that's happening to the vocals. So if you have EQ8 set up as a default, usually when you play stuff through, you will see some kind of analysis pop up with the different kinds of volumes and levels. So let's take a look at this. Is it real? Is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool. So every time I said putting you on rewind, the p, we got a little bit of a p thing happening at the bottom. Check this out over here. Let's can't stop putting you. There we go. There was like a bump of a lot of lower energy over here, and that's something that we call a plosive. In English, it kind of varies a little bit from language to language, but in English, plosive sounds are like p and b, and they can cause what we think of or we call popping. And that's oftentimes why we have some kind of cover or some kind of pop filter to stop that. In this case, I didn't really have that, though I will see that my mic, the SM7B, has kind of like this foam thing over it that helps a bit, but we still have a little bit of that popping, right? So usually what I like to do for vocals is a little bit of a high pass filter so that I don't get that popping. So we're going to change that over here on EQ8. Let's make this a high pass filter instead of a low shelf. And let's bring up the frequency until about here. I think that's usually pretty good. I usually give myself a cutoff around like 200 or so. Part of the reason why I know this is visually looking at the signal, and part of the reason also is at this point I've worked a lot with my vocals, so I kind of know where a good place to come off is. The more, if you are a vocalist as well, this is really one of the best parts about recording yourself. You'll start to get to know the way that your voice behaves quite a lot. For example, like I'm also pretty aware that I have a very sibilant voice, so things like for me, they come up very prominently, and that's because I have a hypersibilant voice. So that means this is linguistics, sorry. I guess it's linguistics, maybe. It's more like vowel stuff. Phonology. The tip of my tongue is very close to the back of my teeth when I say things. So I have a very sort of voice. And that's something I wouldn't know if I didn't record and edit myself so much. I'm always like going for that de-esser or going for that manual cutting and making the T's and the S's softer. But great, let's take a listen to this and see what else we need to do, if we need to do anything. Can't stop putting you on rewind. Let's start listening from the beginning. Here we go. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool. So this is a really great point to, I think, talk a little bit about how it can be different for male vocals versus female vocals, or even if you have like a higher or lower sounding voice. It usually pays to pay a lot of aural attention, so like listening attention to whether something sounds too thin or too not thin. And in a way, that's kind of why I like setting this up over here for a little bit more of a gentler slope. So usually when I'm working with my own vocal, I found that, again, 200 or so is an okay place. For some people's vocals, that's way too high. And for some people's vocals, it's not high enough. So just to kind of illustrate, if you're still not sure of what a good place is, I like to just listen to a vocal and then start moving this frequency knob up and down to find a good place. So let's do that. Let's try it out in this case. Is it real? Is it in my mind? Like, that's way too much, right? So. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Yeah, so I think in my case, actually, I am in the ballpark of where I should be, but your mileage may vary. So test that out, and always do a little bit of a comparison with different kinds of frequencies across the spectrum and see if you find something that is good for you. Now, because we're working with my voice, like I mentioned, I actually have this thing where I'm quite resonant around 3 kilohertz, and it's not super audible until you start stacking a lot of vocals up. But just to kind of anticipate that, maybe if I'm doing like harmonies later on or something, I'm just gonna grab this band over here and just do a very slight dip around like 2 or 3 kilohertz or so, and this will help in the longer run. So I'm not gonna go super in depth into that, but basic EQ, very important. Let's also take a listen to the plosive stuff and see if that stop putting you on rewind. It got reduced. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Nice, cool. So great, that's our EQ. Not gonna go super complicated at the moment, so let's just close that up. But great, we've got tuning, we've got EQ. I usually do these in that order. Ooh, let's also take a look at the chat. I just saw a bunch of things pop up. Staff. Ooh, yes, military band. A, definitely. Lots of A's, and I think the worst is what was the worst one? I think there was one time, because I play the flute, right? So I think I was always like in front of the brass section, and sometimes I would get some very frightful noises from the trumpets and the trombones right behind. So yeah, EFBF, yeah, thumbs up. Lisa, hi, how's it going? Great to see you again. Thanks. I like singing. I think it's fun. I'm not a good singer, but I think it's very fun to sing. And I think like if the thing about this is something I realized. This is a digression, but the thing I realized a lot from working with kids especially is that when you're young and when you don't know stuff, you're so bold about everything. I often give like singing assignments to a lot of my younger students who I work with, or the youth that I work with. For example, in the 343 Youth Academy, the younger someone is, the more unabashed they are about just trying stuff. And sometimes I'll hear like the craziest recordings of like vocals and different kinds of sounds from some of like my youngest students, but it's amazing just the types of sounds that you can get from being bold and being out there. So if anyone's ever hesitant about singing, just go ahead and sing. If you're conscious, you can always like treat it and process it like the way we're doing now, but embrace it. It's your voice, and no one else is ever gonna have that voice. So I think that's one way that I guess my attitude towards singing has changed over time. It's like, I'm bad at it, but I'll still do it because I like it. just do things because you like them. You don't have to do things all the time because you want other people to like them. Sometimes do it for yourself. That's fun. Great. So we got tuning, EQ, let's do some compression. So in Live 11, again, we've got the different categories, right? So what is compression? Very quickly, because we've talked about this before in a previous stream, you are taking the dynamic range of a sound and making that a little bit more controlled. So the softest sound to the loudest sound, we're taking this section and we are compressing it. So we're kind of making it a little smaller. To that end, let's grab a compressor from the dynamics folder. So I'm just going to drag and drop it behind these vocals over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep a close eye on this fader over here that's controlling something called the threshold. And the threshold is important because whenever we're working with a compressor, the threshold is that signal level that the compressor is going to start compressing at. So if our audio signal isn't hitting the threshold, it's not going to be compressed. So I'm going to keep my eye on this. What I'm also going to do in anticipation of how loud this might be is bring down the volume of my vocal, maybe about, let's do 10 dB for now. I may bump it up later if that's too much, but better safe than sorry. Protect your ears. And what I'm going to do is listen to my vocal take and bring down the threshold right until about like the softest point, which maybe looks as if it could be around here in the third freeze. So let's do it. Let's go ahead and take a listen and let's see what we get. Here we go. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool, so like about -27 maybe? Let's try that again. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Great, so we've compressed the vocal. To be very frank, I often think that threshold and ratio, I think, are like the two most important things you need to pay attention to in any compressor. And so I think that might be a good point to kind of segue a little bit from threshold to ratio. What is ratio? Without going super in depth, because I do want to cover a couple more things, the ratio is basically the amount. So the higher the ratio you have, the more aggressive the compression will be. So let's take a listen to this. I'm just going to play this back and I'm going to start adjusting the ratio. By default, it's set to 2, which is a pretty good ratio, pretty gentle for vocals. Usually for vocals, I like to bump it up to 3, sometimes 4. And yeah, let's take a listen and let's see what we get. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool, listen one more time. Is it real or is it in my mind? I can't stop putting you on rewind. Wish I could let you go this time, but I keep putting you on rewind. Cool. So you'll notice also that the more I brought up the ratio, again, amount of compression kind of increasing a little bit, we started hearing some strange things, right? Like a couple of like weird, almost echoey types of things. In part, that's because I have a wall right behind me. So when I was recording my vocal, a part of the signal that I was singing was also reflecting against this wall and kind of bouncing back into my microphone. So that's why oftentimes if you've ever seen pictures of people's like home studios and stuff, you'll see them either record with like carpets, like lots of those, or different kinds of foam things. People use egg cartons even on their walls. I don't have that here because I mainly use this for, my teaching and sharing with all of you. So when I record vocals, I do usually do it in either my room, my bedroom, or I do it with like a carpet or some kind of tapestry behind me to kind of like catch the sound a little bit. So something to consider. But I think when I was doing this, I liked a ratio of about 3 or so I may leave that over there. We'll get some nice compression without overdoing it. That's always, I think, the danger of a lot of these plugins, which could be something to consider very, very broadly. Too much of a good thing is too much. So too much of a good thing is not good. So always try to do things in moderation. Just be a little bit aware of how much you are controlling something and whether you are, applying too much of an effect to it. Kind of same principle as the EQ stuff. If you remember how much we brought up, how little we brought up, things like that. Test things out. Trust your ears and listen to that. Yes. Cool, let's close this up and let me just check if there are questions. I feel like I saw the chat moving, but I need to just pop over here. Hello, yes, okay, cool. Let's see. Mr. Bucket, yeah, why not Brick Wallet? Is it to keep some of the low end anyway? Oh, okay, cool. I think you're talking about the EQ. I think I may have kind of alluded to this. So yeah, I tend to prefer slightly gentler slopes so that not all of the low end is cut up, especially for higher vocals. So if you're recording a woman's voice or even like a young child's voice, sometimes there's always that danger of cutting away a little bit too much of the low end, and then they end up sounding as if they are super, super high passed. So for female vocals, I tend to opt for a little bit of something gentler. This is kind of also the reason why I sort of like doing vocals in Logic a little bit more than in Live. And that's because if you check this out over here in EQ, I'm glad we're talking about this. There are 2 different kinds of high-pass filters. One of them is a 4-pole high-pass filter, which isn't actually a brick wall, but it's a 4-pole high-pass filter, and this one is 1-pole. And without going super nerdy, something that is more poles as a filter is going to be more aggressive. So we only have 2 options over here. I tend to find that the 4-pole, at least to my ears, is a little too aggressive. The cool thing in Logic, though, is that you have options. So you have 2-pole, 3-pole, and 4-pole, as well as the 1-pole. So you can kind of adjust it, which I like quite a lot. And I think you can also do like even a gentler increment, I think. It's pretty cool. So I like that there are more options in Logic. If something needs a bit more aggression, then you can get more aggressive of it without overdoing things. So that's kind of the reason why I like doing this. Yeah, a good question. Again, it kind of depends on you as well. So I would say anything that I share, at least for any of my streams, I'm not sure if I can speak for the other 343 Labs instructors, but anything that I share, you can I guess you can kind of learn from it. It's funny because like I am teaching this stuff, obviously, but there's always exceptions to stuff. I think there's never like a hard and fast rule with anything in music at all, which is when I first started producing and mixing and mastering and whatever, I found that so hard to accept. I was like, but I need to know. I think there are general guidelines that if you follow them can get you to a good place. And then there's always a little bit of wiggle room, which is kind of the fun part about doing this, right? There's always no like one set answer. If you passed this on to somebody else, they could have like a different approach to it that's totally different from mine. So yeah, that's something that's pretty cool. Let's close up the EQ, unless there was a different question related to that. So let me just check. EFBF, yay, great. I'm glad that you are learning stuff. Todd, adding some compression. Yeah, you anticipated that. Excellent. So we got the compression, we got the EQ. Lisa, much appreciation for you sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all being here to have folks to share with. That's very fun for all of us. Bilal, can we use OTT instead of compressor? So this is a pretty interesting question. And maybe I'll throw it back to you, Bilal. What is OTT? If you take a look specifically at what OTT is, if we're talking about the same thing, it's a specific preset in Live for a device that's called multiband dynamics. I have used the multiband dynamics stuff on vocals before, but I rarely, I think, have I said that enough? Use EQ and compression presets. And it's partially because, yes, I guess in a way it can get you to a good starting point. But oftentimes, when you EQ and you compress a sound, it's so specific to that sound. And OTT is a preset of the multi-band dynamics device. So I would never just slap a preset on to something. And I think if you didn't want to do that, and if you liked how it sounds, it's good that you like how it sounds, but I think it could benefit you in the longer run if you really understood truly what the device itself does, instead of saying, okay, I just put this preset on and that's it. That's it though. If you know how to use multi-band dynamics and after that you're still really set on OTT, by all means, put that on a vocal or put that on anything that you want. I think it's always really important to, and maybe this is my more teachery side in a way, but I think it's always important to know how to use something so that you don't abuse it or misuse it in a way that's a bit more detrimental to how you're doing stuff. So to that end, a lot of my students have heard me say this too. I'm a big fan of reading the manual. So if you want to, you can kind of look up how multi-band dynamics works, and then you can take a look at the OTT preset and see what is actually going on under the hood, and then you'll know how to use it. So that's a great question. So yeah, Mr. Bucket. I'm not sure. OTT. I think that's what you mean. So yeah, I wouldn't say not. Absolutely not. But yeah, you can do that if you want to. I would say it's more important to understand what you're doing, and then be aware of what's happening. Yeah, there's no absolutely nots in anything, except for clipping, maybe. Maybe in terms of digital distortion. Well, you could do that too, maybe, if you wanted to do like a John Hopkins singularity style sort of mix. That could be fun. That could be interesting. Do you gain match too? That's a really great question. I do sometimes, but for most part, my workflow is that I tend to, after I EQ and compress things, I tend to just match it with the rest of my mix that's going on. So for example, if this is too loud compared to my chords, I would just bring its volume down inside of Live here in the track volume. Wouldn't necessarily gain match specifically, but I usually think of volume as a more broad concept with mixing and gain staging. So good question. Stop. Did this compressor automatic? Oh my goodness! I just saw all the questions below. Ooh, sorry. Cool. Let's actually do some questions. If I can't show anything today, that's okay. Maybe we'll carry over until the next week, which is pretty cool. Stop. Does this compressor automatically apply makeup gain? Yes, it does. The default preset is yes. If you want to, you can also turn it off and then manually bring up the gain as well. That's something that you can do. I have it on for now. I usually do have it on, yeah, because I think of the gain staging more at the track volume level most of the time when I work in Live. For Logic, I tend to do that a little bit as well too when I'm doing specific vocal takes. I'm trying to think of my workflow in the different DAWs because it does vary slightly. Great. I had a different question. Is there any good software that can help with acoustic dampening? Is there such thing as a 3D sound mapping software so you can see where you need to adjust? That's a really great question. One of the things that it's not a specific software, but if anyone's, it kind of is. Yeah, it kind of is. If anyone's heard of Reference 4 by Sonarworks, I would highly encourage you to look it up. It can be very cool. It helps you kind of think about the resonances in your room and even kind of helps you a little bit with headphones. Sometimes a lot of my students have benefited from that. Sonarworks Reference 4. I think they have a student discount as well. So if you are a student, you should be able to get some kind of discount. Regine, would using a pop filter from the start help the vocals sound better along with EQ and compression? Yes, it would. Especially if you happen to have a very plosive sort of voice. I don't, but I have met a lot of singers and vocalists who are amazing singers, and whenever they enunciate stuff, because they have very clear pronunciation, the P's and B's are very pronounced. So they do need some kind of pop filter, and having that just makes a lot of the stuff easier to do. I'm usually of the mentality that yes, even though we have all of these tools that can help us edit vocals and make them sound a lot better, and really this is kind of like a 101 vocal processing thing, right? The better sound you can get at the start of your chain. So for example, just now me doing the multiple takes, finding the best performances that I did, the easier it's going to be for you to keep engineering and to keep producing around that vocal. So to put it in the words of deadmau5, I think he's the one who may have said this, poop in, poop out. So if you have good stuff coming in that's not poop, you're going to get some really good out poop. I'm so punny today. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question, Regine. Yes, if you can get yourself the best recording, it's usually good. Let's see. Hi, greetings. Hey everyone. How's it going? Kenneth, T-Soul, yeah. Thanks, Thomas. Now you're in a different account. That's great. Samuel, since I've been going by the model, doesn't mean it's free, means you shouldn't get it. Yeah, totally. I think you can always try stuff out. That's a really good kind of dilemma to have in a way. And I think you can always try stuff. It's really cool to be able to try different kinds of things. Some of my favorite third-party plugins are free ones. For example, the Ozone Imager. That's free. It's very good. It's by Isotope. Another of my favorite free ones is a synth, actually. It's called Helm. I started getting into it very recently because I was looking for options for some of my students. Not super recently, but in the pandemic, because it's a free synthesizer kind of thing. So I use it to teach a lot of synthesis concepts. So yeah, totally. I'm not sure if... Oh, Samuel, yeah, I just saw the thing about... will slow down my workflow. Yeah, I mean, you won't know until you try. That's one thing I think of the biggest things that I see as a recurring thing come up from a number of folks in the chat. But sometimes you don't know until you try. So go ahead and try stuff out. And it's one thing for us to show you stuff here on 343 TV, but another thing for you to try it out yourself. Yes, great info. I'm so glad that everyone enjoys it. Thank you all for being here. What do you do if you hate what your voice sounds like? I would say just go for it. In a way, when I first started listening back to my voice also, I was quite appalled. And I think when I first started recording myself, I was like fairly late in the game. So I used to not like the way I sounded. But again, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And now it's just like, okay, I accept that I sound very strange when I'm being recorded. So just go for it. It's fine. You just do it. And let's see. Yeah, oh, I think that's Maya. Yeah, greetings. Yeah, so I think Maya, I'm not sure if you're tuning in to live stuff or not, because I think maybe you're in the later questions. Yes, Vital is excellent too. I've been getting very much into Vital as well. But everyone, I kind of started answering questions, which were really great questions. So we started with a very, very basic vocal processing chain today. Maybe we'll continue next week. I didn't want to move on to another topic, but I feel that there's so much that we can do with this. So you know what? Let's continue next week with this. I'm going to go ahead and save this project. So that's going to be Command S or Control S. But we got some things done. We did some tuning. We even did the recording. So that took up some time as well. We did recording in live. We did comping. We did some tuning. We did EQing, and we did compressing. So next week we'll continue with this. I'll show you a couple of things that I like doing a lot after I've tuned and EQ'd and compressed things. Might be cool to maybe try a little bit of time-based effects also, so we can go into that too. But in the meantime, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. It's been really fun to share with you about vocals. Probably one of the favorite things that I like doing. I like taking something and figuring out how to make it sound even better. That's all. I think that's all kind of what we want to do, right? We want to make things sound better. So thank you all again. Hope you like and subscribe the video, subscribe to the channel. Goodness, different things. You can also follow me on my own channel too, at dolltr. Got some videos there too. But stay tuned, because tomorrow we've got the one and only Tatro doing more stuff on 343 TV. He's going to have a call-in show tomorrow, so if anyone has ideas, Tatro is our creative director, or questions specifically for him, you can always send them into the chat, and I'm sure he will be happy to talk about them. So thanks so much again, everyone. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of, I guess, the first part of vocal processing, now that we'll do part 2 next week. So yes, I will see all of you next week and have a great rest of the week. Bye!